Hi, I'm Steve, and I received a living kidney donation from my wife, believe it or not, about a year and a half ago. My kidney failure began when I was 18 years old. And at the time, I was doing what, most 18-year-olds would do at that time, hanging out with my friends, going on dates, playing sports. I was actually in my fall semester of my freshman year of college, and I had signed to play college basketball. The scary thing about my diagnosis as 18 was it was caught during a routine physical, and they noticed my blood pressure was extremely elevated. Living without working kidneys meant that I wasn't able to do a lot of the same things that my friends were doing, and even things that I had done throughout my life up to that point because I was so young. Um, I wasn't able to run up and down the basketball court like I used to because of high blood pressure. The gouty arthritis that I developed, I really wasn't able to do a whole lot since it was in my legs. Just the small things like just getting up in the morning, walking, going up and down stairs, driving. It was so painful. And I'll never forget the first time I started dialysis, and it was a very quick um, beginning to dialysis. I was sent to the hospital because I wasn't doing well, and my doctor said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and put a chest catheter in. You're going to start dialysis tomorrow." So it was very quick. I didn't give me a lot of time to panic or be nervous or even really to fully comprehend, which, looking back, maybe that was okay. But my first dialysis appointment, it hit me when they turn the machine on, and then they walk away. So you're in that little area by yourself. And so you're looking around thinking, what is going on? I've got these tubes connected to my chest, and I got this machine over here that's filtering out my blood to keep me alive. And at that point, it became very emotional. The mental aspect of dealing with dialysis was always proven to be a lot harder than the physical. When my doctor told me that a living donor kidney transplant was my best option, um, it actually gave me hope because then it almost felt like my fate was more in my hands. Like I could take more control of that outcome because I knew I was going to do whatever it took to get my story out there, to let people know so I could find a kidney. I actually found it quite difficult to talk about living donation with my family and friends because for me, as the potential recipient, there's a feeling of, I don't know if guilt's the right word, but that's really hard to ask somebody that you love to go through such a hard and complex surgery, giving away one of their organs. So it was always difficult for me. And in the end, even though my wife is the one who donated to me, I never actually asked her to donate to me. I never asked anybody in my family to donate to me because I just felt too guilty. I didn't want to put them through that. I didn't want them to have to worry about future, struggles with their own health because they only had one kidney. So that, yeah, it made it quite difficult, and it was not an easy thing. Even with my fears, I decided to try to find a living donor because, my wife put it fairly simple. Um, she let me know that she, loves me as her husband. She wants to grow old with me. She wants me to be around as long as I can and to be a dad one day. And I just had a whole lot of life that I still wanted to live. Being so young going through this, that was a main motivator. I was not ready to give up. I wanted to experience so much more things in life that I hadn't already. And that was a big motivator for me to find that living donor. When my wife, Heather, first said that she wanted to donate her kidney to me, I felt very conflicted. Um, going back to the feeling of guilt and worry and not wanting to see anything happen to her. weighed very heavily on me. But she made it very clear that this was something that she was going to do. She was going to be tested, and if she was a match, that she was going to be donating to me. And so, really, I guess you could say I didn't really have an option, but that's just proof of how much she loves me and how much she wanted to help me. On the day of the procedure, when I was being rolled into the operating room, gosh, I remember it very clearly. My entire mindset at that moment when I was being taken back was on my wife, because she obviously was rolled back into surgery about an hour and a half or so before I was, and it completely consumed me with how is she doing? Is everything okay? And I could not stop thinking about my wife. That had been my main concern this entire time, was making sure that she was okay. Uh, I was nervous on my behalf because with a surgery as complicated as a transplant, you never know if something can go wrong. Fortunately, the doctors that we had were very, very skilled. I had the confidence in them, so that helped a lot. But yeah, most of my feelings and my thinking was directed towards my wife and how she was doing in the operating room next to me. My situation, I guess, was a little more unique in the fact that since it was my wife donating to me, we spent just about every minute together leading up to the surgery. Um, when she and I got to the hospital, we were taken up to prep together. So we got to spend some time together uh, before everything got rolling. And that gave us a time to talk. I told her how much I loved her and that she is an absolute blessing to me. And I was so overwhelmed with gratefulness that I wanted to let her know that she is my absolute world, that she is sacrificing her body to give me an opportunity to live and to have a second chance at life. And that thought and those feelings they consumed us both leading up to the surgery that morning. After surgery, I was very excited to once again be able to go to the bathroom a lot more frequent than I had. Two, knowing I did not have to go back to dialysis, and three, that I was able to feel good. The kidney began working immediately, and it was remarkable that the nurses and the people that were there said that they could already tell a difference right after surgery, just in the way I looked, the color, and of my face. They said it looked like I had more color, and I was just overall, I was happy. I was happy because I immediately started feeling a way that I hadn't felt since I was an early teenager. Um, my recovery, after a surgery like that, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to have its ups and downs. But overall, the nursing staff, the support team that I had was phenomenal, and they helped make it more manageable. Um, it was very difficult to walk for the first few days simply because of how large my scar was in the staples. But aside from some of that pain and some of the nausea that came with it for a couple of days, I think it's safe to say that my recovery went very, very well. Wow, a life without dialysis, that meant that other than not having to go to dialysis, it meant that I could actually plan and look forward to a future. When I was on dialysis, it made that very hard because you always had to be at dialysis. It was hard to plan vacations. It was hard to get excited for the future because dialysis, unfortunately, is a constant reminder that you're sick and that something's going on. So, the most noticeable difference in me is how happy I am. And the conversations that I have with my wife have gone from well, maybe we can do this, or we'll see if I'm able to do this. I don't really want to talk about it because I don't know, to yes, let's go do this. Yes, I want to go on vacation. Yes, I want to be a foster parent. Yes, I want to try to do this with my career. It's gone from a whole lot of doubt to a whole lot of hopefulness. It has now been a year and 5 months since I received a kidney from my wife, and I have not felt this good since I was an early teenager. It's almost like night and day, you know. Being diagnosed at 18 has meant that my entire adulthood has been spent being sick and dealing with this. So for the first time, I'm able to enjoy life, love life, you know, and just be happy as an adult. And it's made all the difference in the world. And I just never imagined that I would have the opportunity to feel as awesome as I do. The relationship that I have with my wife today is extremely, extremely strong. Um, when you go through something like that with your spouse, and we were blessed to have everything come out okay, it only brought us even closer together. You know, when you get married, they say that you become one, and you know, we have legitimately become one. A part of her is now inside of me and a permanent part of who I am and keeping me alive. And I think the biggest thing that I learned going through living, you know, a living donor, is that there are so many wonderful, caring, and kind people out there that really do want to help you. It was absolutely incredible to see somebody just say, you know what, I volunteer. I want to sacrifice my body, an organ of mine, to keep you alive and to see you happy. And that's one of the most selfless things I have ever seen anybody do. And it's not just my wife, it's all donors. And I know that there's a bunch of people out there who have that type of heart, who have that desire, that selflessness. And I think it's just a wonderful thing to have had my eyes open to how wonderful people genuinely are. Looking back, what I truly did not expect was how how good and how wonderful I was going to feel after the transplant. When you're as sick as I was, and for as long as I'd been since I was a teenager, you kind of adjust to that and think, well, this is just who I am. This is my life. And so I really didn't expect for it to have the impact that it has, in the way that it has, and so quickly. It's just, it's remarkable. And, you know, looking back, the only thing I regret, going through everything that I had, um, with the disease and with dialysis, is that I allowed it to control me more than I really wanted it to. I allowed myself to have more why me moments, more woe is me moments than I should have, because sometimes it took my attitude in a direction I didn't want it to go. And I wasn't always the most grateful. I wasn't always the most patient person with people who were trying to help me. You know, I wish I could go back and adjust my attitude a little bit, and you know, and appreciate those who are trying to help me. That would definitely be my biggest regret. What I learned from this entire journey, from when I was diagnosed to where I'm sitting right now, is that you should never, ever, ever give up hope. Um, and that it's important to not say, why are these things happening to me, but try to find it in your, you know, positivity, in your hope and your faith that it's something that's happening for you. And when you can start to do things like that and answer those questions, why me, it helps you cope with it a lot better, and it helps you understand. Um, and I have most definitely learned that hope and staying positive and having faith and staying strong, not giving up, never ever give up on yourself. It's going to be hard. It is hard. But when you least expect it, that's when life can take a turn, and for the good. And, you know, it's a miracle. And just because you're sick, just because you're on dialysis, don't let that be, a period in your life, rather, a comma, a pause right before the best things in life are about to happen. My advice to all of you fighters out there who are waiting on, your kidney, the best advice I can give you is do not be afraid to share your story. Use social media, use different platforms to get your story out there. I know it can be difficult and it can leave you feeling vulnerable, but the best way to find that person who is wanting to save your life is to put your story out there, because until they know that you exist and they can create that emotional attachment to you through sharing your story, you know, the chances of you finding that person, are less. So do not be afraid to share your story. Share it proudly. Don't share it as a woe is me in particular, but, be positive and say, this is my life. This is what I'm going through. I'm a mom. I'm a dad. I'm a grandparent, or, I'm a son or daughter, and I'm fighting as hard as I can. But unfortunately, my disease has had this effect on me. And, let people know, because when they can relate to you, it creates that emotional attachment a lot easier. And with that emotional attachment, you can definitely find that donor for yourself.